What's up everyone, welcome back to Microgreens Farmer. On today's episode we're going to be talking about growing microgreens either in soil versus hydroponically on grow pads, coconut mats, all that kind of stuff. I get tons of questions about it all the time, and so I'm going to go over the pros and cons of each, and that's coming right up. Alright, so this is a clip from my online course, Microgreens Business. I have a module in there specifically how people can use hydroponics and incorporate it with the whole course materials. But I go into all the pros and the cons in the beginning of the video, and I've just been getting so many questions about it that I thought it'd be good to just share this publicly. Hope you guys find this useful. Here it is. I just want to first talk about the pros and cons, and then I'll show you how I'm doing this to make it efficient and how you can adapt the course materials for hydroponic growing. For some of the pros that I found, that with the grow pads, they're a little faster initially, especially if you get in the pre-cut ones that fit right in a 1020. Throw them in there, they're ready to go. You just put your seeds on there and mist them and you're good. Whereas if you're using a soil, like especially a compressed soil brick, like I use the Pro Mix, you have to screen that. Then you have to scoop into your trays, level it out, and then tamp it down and water it. So there's a little more initially, but really, when you consider like the time of extra watering that you're gonna have to do with the hydroponics, it pretty much evens out. There is that time savings up front. The second pro is that it is cleaner, I suppose. If you think that dirt is dirty, I think dirt is in soil and stuff is beautiful, but I can see that. So I know that some people do think that it's dirty, and especially if you're going to be bringing this into a kitchen, to a restaurant, then in doing like a live sales to a kitchen, you probably aren't able to bring live soil in there. I do not do live sales to restaurants, just because I've found as long as you grow your microgreens properly and harvest them properly and dry them and package them, you don't need to worry about them lasting until your next delivery. They easily last a week as long as they're harvested properly. So I don't do live sales to restaurants. It seems inconvenient to them. It takes them more time to have to harvest them. But if you're doing that, you're gonna probably want to go with hydroponics. So that is another pro, I guess, is that ability to do live sales to restaurants. I guess that's a pro if your customers are demanding that, so you're able to meet that demand. And then finally, this is the main thing. I think this is kind of the make or break of why you would want to do hydroponics, is that it's easier to dispose of, or it takes up less space when you dispose of it. So if you live in an urban environment, you don't have access to a composting. Some municipalities have the green bins that you can compost in. Or if you don't have a place to compost in your yard, or a garden to throw the dirt in, then they will take up less space in the dumpster. After you cut the mats, they'll save you a little space. So that would be my main reason I would want to go with hydroponics, especially after you hear these cons from my experience with them. First of all, the con is that it's more expensive. I'm paying about $1 a piece for the ones that I've kind of settled on using, which is the BioStraight felt pads, whereas soil is about half that for me. This is going to depend on where you live. If you live in a tropical environment and coconut fiber's really cheap there, you might be able to get a great deal on that, whereas importing like a peat mix all the way from Canada is going to be really expensive. So they may be less expensive for you. It's something you should research. The second thing is, can't be reused. So when I compost a flat of soil, I throw them out there. For all the dainty varieties that don't have a really tight root mass, I throw those right on beds a lot of times and can plant in them pretty much immediately. But the rest of them, they're going in the compost pile. So I get to use that soil again and again. It goes on my garden. I get to benefit from it over and over again. So these, you're throwing them out. They say they're compostable, but they're not going to compost unless you have like an industrial facility to compost them in. So probably in your backyard, they're going to take forever to break down. So that's definitely a con. The next con is huge, is substantially lower yields. I've done side-by-side trials on these. I'm going to start publishing some of this stuff on YouTube as well, but my yields have been much lower with the hydroponics, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it's been really substantial. Sometimes it's almost half as much that I'm getting. Like the radishes, the last experiment I did on radishes, it was nearly half the yield, which was pretty crazy. Next, more disease problems. I see more people have issues with like damping off and even like mold sometimes, just because I think that they can't handle. It's hard to get the water level right, and sometimes you end up flooding them, and that definitely causes problems. So I've seen more disease problems with hydroponics. Next is more watering. So you have to water them a couple times a day, sometimes 1 or 2 times a day. And whereas the soil-based, you can bottom water and only have to do that, once every other day. Another con, doesn't work for several varieties. Several of the varieties just love soil, especially the ones with big old hulls like sunflowers, beets. They just do so much better in soil. They're just about impossible to grow hydroponically on pads. So you're limited. Next, not as flavorful as a crop. The crops just taste better when they're grown in soil. And another con is lowered shelf life. I've just found they're not as high quality of greens that you're growing, and they don't last as long. So those are the main kind of pros and cons I see. Hopefully that'll help you decide which one you want to go with. If you're going to be doing all live sales to restaurants and you're in an urban environment with no access to compost, then hydroponic definitely the way to go. Otherwise, I would say it's not really the way to go. I do live sales soil-based to customers at the farmer's market in little 5x5, so you can still sell live soil-based, just probably can't bring them into a commercial kitchen. Okay, so that's it. That's all I want to talk about for the pros and cons. Alright, if you guys enjoyed that, found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe, and you can leave me a comment down below if you have any follow-up questions about hydroponics versus soil-based microgreens. Also, if you are interested in my online course, right now I've been doing a bunch of webinars that are free, a free web class you can take, and I tell you about my course on there. You can go to microgreensfarmer.com to sign up for that, and when you sign up for that, I also just send you my free quick start guide just as a little bonus. So go check that out, and once again, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.